Uh, another weird, high concept philosophical topic for today's video, which I probably shouldn't be talking about because I didn't get much sleep, and so my brain is not operating at full capacity. But nonetheless, we shall soldier on because daily videos have to come out for no reason. Today we're talking about suffering. Fun topic. Types of suffering. So like my main point of this video, what sort of got me thinking about it, was last night I was watching some videos by this one food YouTuber. Is it Adam Ragusa or something like that? Let me look him up so I can see his name properly. Like Adam something, I think. Adam Ragusier. Ragusi? I don't know how you fucking say his name. But he does like food videos with a sort of food science type tilt. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But the point is, he talks a lot about like, one of the things he seems to be into is not being a prescriptivist when it comes to food. So not saying like, this is the objectively correct way to make the best salmon or whatever, and every other way to do it is wrong. Like, not saying that. And also he talks a lot about like the science of food and stuff, but interestingly to me, he doesn't make flat comments about like calories. So he might say like, this certain thing has a lot of calories, which is great, right? Like as a positive. And then he'll be like, unless you live in a Western country where we're all overfed and we don't want those extra calories. And that got me thinking about how, like, some of the stuff that we have to deal with, you know, in the modern industrial civilization, technological civilization, we probably experience less suffering than people did in the past. But the thing is that you're kind of supposed to be experiencing suffering, and in fact, the suffering that we kind of are obligated to experience is stuff that human beings really suck at, whereas the suffering that our ancestors might have gone through and the stuff that people in less industrialized parts of the world go through are stuff that their brains and bodies are more apt to deal with. So there's certain things that human beings really suck at. So like a computer, if you tell it not to do something, it's not difficult for a computer to not do that. Like if you tell it to do something, the computer will do it. If you tell it not to do it, the computer won't do it. But human brains are a bit different in that you can know that it's probably a bad thing to eat high fat foods every day or whatever, but also we're literally hardwired to search out and seek for and desire these sorts of high fat, high carb, whoops, tripped over my guitar, high carb, high calorie foods. That's like hardwired into our brains that we really desire. That's why that stuff tastes good. Good taste is just a motivational factor, a reward system in our brain to get us to search out for foods that would give us the best advantage in the environment that we evolved in. However, we're no longer in that environment, and so that desire backfires on us and it gets fucked. And it is much harder for us to fight. Like, we're built to go through various famine type situations, winter type situations where food is scarce. The body of most every animal has inbuilt biological mechanisms to deal with food shortages and stuff like that, including humans. We're built to have those. That's why fasting is really good for you, because it's kind of something that's accounted for when in being a human. That there will be certain times when food is going to be scarce, and so your body, it's kind of like there was one particular type of tree. Sorry for the construction noise in the background, by the way. I can't do anything about it. There's that one particular type of tree where it's like they tried to stop all the wildfires, and the trees started dying out because it turns out that particular type of tree needs wildfires in order for its seedlings to sprout or whatever. we're kind of similar. Like, on the surface level, fasting and food shortages and stuff like that are bad, but actually we kind of need it a little bit. Obviously, in the same way that if you set everything on fire, those trees are fucked, but, they need the right amount of suffering. In the same way, we need the right amount of fasting or calorie limitation, these sorts of things, in order to stay healthy, in order to, live better lives. Because being healthy is not, healthy is a stupid thing anyway. Like, healthy is kind of nonsense when you actually get down to it. Maybe I'll make a whole video about why the health cult is an awful thing, but it should be self-evident. So, like, healthy is stupid, but better, in my opinion. When you're healthier, like when you eat good food, like as in food that's good for you, you feel better. And maybe it's placebo, I don't know, but that's just my personal experience. That, like, I'm sure you can appreciate the same thing. When you eat a bunch of shit food for a week because you're depressed, it makes you feel worse. Whereas when you go through a health binge of, like, eating salads or whatever, you feel better. Maybe it's placebo, but that's my experience. And the whole thing about food is all about subjective experience. So, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if it's placebo or not when it comes to food, because experience is experience, and food is all about subjective experience. So, there you go. Something about that. So, like, we have to basically, it's kind of difficult to even explain it, because it comes, like, I don't have the language to really say what I want to say, because I'm going to end up saying stuff like, the environment we're made for and stuff like that, but really there is no, like, environment. We weren't made for anything except, to pass on our genetics, and any environment that allows us to do that is then technically the environment we are made for. Adding on to the fact that humans uniquely don't just exist in environments and are changed by their environments, but change their environments. So the environment we're made for is not even relevant when humans can change their environment. But the point being, we have psychological mechanisms that make it not too difficult to deal with certain types of suffering. You know what a great example of this is? Is like that hard exercise it is, in fact, objectively, it fucking sucks. It's painful, it's tiring, it's awful, but it also releases a lot of endorphins in your brain, and you you feel happy after you do, you feel good. It's that sort of thing. In the same reason, actually, that people become anorexic or self-harm, is because those actions actually create endorphins in your brain, which is weird and counterintuitive, but it's because these types of suffering are, like, accounted for biologically by your body. By the process of evolution, people who have these adaptations that they could deal better with these particular types of suffering and struggles would do better evolutionary, passing on their genes, and so they were naturally selected for. However, we no longer have oftentimes those types of suffering. We don't have to do lots of exercise in our daily lives to survive. We don't have to go through situations where we might get cut and bruised up, most of us in our daily lives. And most of us in the Western world don't have to go through food shortages very often. So all of these things that are kind of accounted for, like the forest fires helping the trees to spread, no longer happen, and it makes our lives actively worse. A lot of people feel like they're missing something in their lives. I have a theory that the thing that they're actually missing is suffering. Like a base level of suffering, not like high concept suffering that humans see. That's what humans really suck at. So if you're in a position where you're forced to do exercise every day, like to hunt food, for example. By the way, a side note, even people who do exercise in the modern world, this is a completely different type of thing than people for most of human history lived with. So, for example, even people who go to the gym like all the time and are pretty fit, they normally work out maybe 1 hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. I mean, professional athletes may be a different story, but most people who like exercise, go to the gym, they don't go to the gym for more than an hour, really, or maybe 2, I don't know, but Like, not that long. Whereas in the medieval period, for example, no one needed to go to the gym because you worked in the field all day, and it wasn't an hour burst of, like, an hour burst of really intense energy is actually not that, like, an hour out of a 24-hour day is not that much. But, you know, sustained exertion through the day is what the human body is more capable of, and actually a much more effective way to burn fat if you want to lose weight is to just be constantly slightly active instead of having a short, relatively burst of very high activity, because something. So when you have a short burst of high activity, as far as I understand, your body like automatically compensates by making you want to eat more food to replenish the carbs that you just burned, because when you're doing short bursts of high activity, you're running on carbs, not fat. So you're going to want to eat more carbs in order to replenish what you just burned doing that activity, and it's going to be subconscious. You're not going to be consciously aware of this fact. I mean, you might be like, oh, I have a craving for a pizza now, but and aware of that, but most of the time it's going to be subconscious stuff, like just how hungry you are, stuff that you're not mentally in control of. And so that's why that sort of exercise, it's possible to lose weight, but it's really fucking hard, and it takes a lot of determination, and because it takes a lot of determination and this type of self-control that human brains aren't supposed... You're not supposed to be in a situation where you're limiting your calories on purpose. No, you're supposed to be always... I mean, supposed to. I know, I hate that I don't have good language to describe this. I wish there was better language to say. But you have the biological mechanisms in your brain and in your body which are designed to keep you on the look for as much calories as possible, because in a pre-industrial, pre-agrarian society, that would have been evolutionarily advantageous, and that's how we spent most of our time, so that's the environment we evolved to deal with. But in modern society, we have the opposite problem, where those exact biological drives drove us to cultivate grain, crops which have the highest possible just carbs and calories for the least amount of effort and, whatever. And because that's what our brains desire, because that would have been extremely valuable to pre-industrial people, and they actually ate a lot of grains. Don't let right-wing Twitter convince you that pre-industrial people never ate grains. They ate a lot of grains. They ate a lot of grains, and then after agriculture came about, and even actually before agriculture, when horticulture was coming about, they also ate a lot of grains. But the point being, we fucked ourselves. So we have these mechanisms so we would have been suffering, we would have been struggling to find enough food to eat. But that is stuff that we are designed to be able to cope with. That is stuff that you don't have to fight against your body's natural instincts. Your natural instincts are telling you, I need food to eat, and you also need food to eat. Whereas if the problem is, I'm eating too much food, now you have to mind over matter, conscious over subconscious, fight with your own body. And that is something that human beings are not very good at, because we're all mixed up creatures, half conscious, half subconscious, unconscious. I don't know if this... it's debatable whether the subconscious even exists. But what I mean is like half monkey brain instincts, half conscious thought, and then actually, we're 1/3 monkey brain, 1/3 conscious thought, 1/3 gut biota, controlling what we think we want. That's the triangle of human desire, and it's very, very difficult for your conscious brain to override the other ones. Because when would that have ever been useful during our evolutionary journey? When would it have been useful to be able to think, I have plenty of food, but I'm going to starve myself, effectively? It would never have been useful is the answer. I mean, there's a difference between I'm going to save some food so I can get through winter, and I'm going to consistently eat fewer calories than I'm going to every day make the decision to eat shit food for reasons that my body can't understand, but my mind, you know what I'm trying to say? You all know what I'm trying to say. This is a weird type of suffering that and you can just choose not to do it. You can choose to just be like, fuck you, I'm just going to eat as much as I want and follow through on my body's natural desires. And for certain people, that's fine. Like some people, maybe they don't get affected by certain biological effects as much. So for me, as I said earlier, I know when I eat junk food all the time, I feel like shit, or when I eat very fatty food or unhealthy fried food all the time, I feel like shit. And when I eat more healthy food, I feel better. But maybe your biology means that you don't feel like shit when you eat fatty food. Maybe your biology means that you feel completely fine when you eat, and you have weighed the pros and cons. You've thought, well, this makes me more unhealthy, but it also makes me happy. And I don't know, maybe you're a gourmet, like a food critic or something, and you're like, you know, food is my real passion in life, and I don't care if I get fat. It doesn't make me feel bad, and I don't care if I die soon of a heart attack. This is something I've weighed up in my mind, and I believe. Then, you know what? Go for it. But that's not the majority of people. The majority of people would probably be better off at a healthy weight. Like, as in, they would live a more fulfilling life at a healthy weight. Most people. And that is just an example of food. This same thing applies to, like, all areas of human existence. That you actually have to fight against your natural instincts. And this type of suffering, where you're not just fighting, it's not just man versus nature, it's man versus himself, is fucked for us. Like, we suck at it. We're actually pretty damn good at man versus nature, as you can see by looking around yourself at the place you live and seeing that we've completely defeated nature. We're pretty good at that. We really suck at man versus yourself, as you can see by the fact that you can look around yourself and we've completely destroyed nature. You can see that we're great at man versus nature, not very good at man versus himself. This is like a problem with consciousness, which, you know, I still maintain, pretty bad idea, consciousness. Look at this, here's another example. Consciousness, bad idea, because I'm some transcendent being in my own mind. Like, I consider myself that, even though I know it's not true, and yet here I am, addicted to a stupid chemical. Not that I actually, you know, this is all, I'll talk about that later, but here I am with nicotine, which happens to fit into a certain fucking protein, I don't know, fucking molecular slot in my brain, which causes stupid chain reactions, and yet here I am thinking that I'm anything other than a little monkey person. Now, with regards to nicotine, my addiction to nicotine is entirely voluntary. I enjoy it, so I keep doing it, is essentially the answer, and it doesn't cause any particular negatives in my life. If it started causing negatives in my life, I would stop doing it, but as for now, I have never had a time when I regret picking up nicotine. Which I think is unusual. I think most people who are addicted to nicotine think, I wish I could stop. But for me, I don't think that at all. I think it's great. I enjoy it. Yeah, you have to basically cause yourself suffering. And the more suffering you cause yourself, the better you will be. It's fucked, really. It's actually fucked. Because the more suffering you cause yourself, as in man versus yourself, as in the more suffering you cause yourself, the more you're going to be actually fighting battles that your psychology is built to deal with. So if you actually are fasting regularly, that type of stress, firstly, there's plenty of research to show that fasting actually is pretty damn good for you, even though it feels bad. It's pretty good for you. And in fact, a lot of stressors. Like, it's fucking weird, stress. Stress is such a weird thing, because on the one hand, stress is like the worst thing ever, but on the other hand, stress actually extends your life and, is good in some situations. And I think the distinction is it depends what type of stress. Stress that is like from, working a 9 to 5 every day, where you are overworked and underpaid and you're not going anywhere in life, that's one type of stress that we are not made to deal with. I know. But that is one type of stress that we don't have very good mechanisms to deal with, whereas the stress of I can't find any food to eat is something that is we're built to deal with from before we were fucking on land. we've been built to deal with I can't find enough nutrients as a source of stress since the beginning of fucking life itself. That has been the biggest cause of stress, and so we are very well adapted to deal with that. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't suck. In fact, it might even mean it sucks more, but it sucks in a different way. It sucks in a way that we're designed to cope with. Designed to. I know. I don't have the fucking language. It's very annoying. It's a stress that it's kind of like an expected bug. It's an expected bug, and it has an error message written for it. And, you know, you can go in the FAQs, and here's a great workaround. It's not something that, you know, I did to myself by messing with the config files for no reason. That's that's a different thing that we're not built to handle. I know, I don't have the language, please forgive me. So, yeah, that's basically the point of this video, is something about that. And how you gotta cause yourself stress. I don't know if that was the point. I don't know what the point was. Just choose your battles is the point, really. If I had to make a point, choose your battles. And sometimes it is better to actually do something which makes your life worse. Which is a really counterintuitive thing that, again, the human brain does not have very good mechanisms to deal with. It doesn't have... it's very difficult for us to convince ourselves of that because there is no situation, or very rare situations in our evolutionary history where that would have been advantageous, except for this very weird moment right now. So that's basically what I'm saying, is that's why your life sucks. Your life sucks because your brain isn't built to deal with it, because the stuff that is advantageous to you right now is stuff that would have been disadvantageous to you for, millions and millions of years of evolution leading up to this current point. And by the way, just in case this wasn't clear, the whole reason we're at this current point is because of the urges that were given to us by those millions and millions of years of evolution. The reason that we live in a world where most people eat grains for most meals is because of those millions of years of evolution caused us to really desire grains and high-carb, high-calorie diets, and grains are the best way to do that, and so we formed entire societies around the ability to harvest as much grain as possible, and then we got really fucking good at it over a long period, and now we're too good at it, and everyone's fat.